first of all, it's lovely to see you. And this is my daughter, Catherine Grace. We call her CG.
Oh, hi.
Nice to
Oh my
meet you.
gosh. I think you were a baby back then.
Yeah, like 5, 6 years old.
Oh
Well,
my gosh.
one of the great things about doing this podcast, or just, Rachel Bilson and I started doing this during the pandemic, and we did the whole thing. I think I told you on Instagram, and we got everybody. And then as I was preparing and reading about your life and everything, I realized you have a daughter born in 2000 as well.
Yeah.
And what's her name?
24. When's your birthday?
Yeah, my birthday's January 4th. So I turned 25 in January.
She's January 9th.
Oh my gosh.
So we're practically the exact same age.
Isn't that hilarious? And
That's
I didn't
awesome.
realize. So I think when I started, did you do the pilot? Or Melinda? So I can't remember at what point it was, but Rachel was recurring at the time. And I still remember her handing me her and her roommate's phone number because the roommate came to visit and we were standing behind ready to enter. And she handed it to me and said, we would babysit anytime you need, because I was like having problems getting a sitter then or something, or I can't remember what the issue was. It was so sweet. And she told me her roommate was a teacher at the time, and they offered to babysit, and I never called them, but how sweet is she?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sweet. Just the sweetest. And because it was such a whirlwind of a show, and it took off so quickly. And when I look back and I saw that you did 6 episodes, but I felt like you were there all the time. Even when we did the rewatch, we went through all of the episodes, and now this is the spinoff, and we're doing this countdown. I always felt like Dr. Kim was kind of like this, she's just like measured, and then probably the most normal and just smart person around all this chaos in Orange County.
She was the only logical one who I think actually had the children's best interest in mind. All the parents, everyone else was like,
they were out there.
That's Julie.
That's funny. Well, can I ask you, there's a countdown to, there's going to be another OC? What? I'm out of the loop.
Oh, no. We're just doing on this podcast. The fans voted on their top 50 favorite episodes.
Whoa.
So instead of going back and rewatching, we are doing a countdown. And there was a couple different reasons why I was like, we didn't get you the first time, and we tried many, I guess.
And I did not get it, Pat. Yeah, but it might have been at a time that maybe when I was in England, was it 2 years ago, or?
It would have been a few years ago. Oh, and you were doing a play in England, right?
I did a play in England, so maybe it was then, or I was in New Zealand for 6 months, and then I was back in England for almost a year. So yeah, it could have been in the back and forth.
But I was like, I try to get everybody. So, and also one of the things that triggered it was I had just finished watching Sweet Tooth. I discovered Sweet Tooth.
You love it?
I did. And I was like,
I give you no choice
is,
but to say you love it.
She's an awful, terrible, hateful villain, and with a
Right?
Southern drawl.
Right? Oh my gosh. Well, Southern drawl that then kind of disappeared for the next season because the daughters didn't want it, or one of the daughters didn't want to do a drawl, so I tried to soften it a little bit. But yes, what a fun character, huh?
And that was where did you shoot that? In New Zealand as well?
New Zealand. So that was 6 months there. I mean, a little bit, for the introduction to the character. So that was, like a month. And then I went to England to do 3 Body Problem. And then I went back to New Zealand for 5 months.
Wow.
So
that's a beautiful country to shoot. You know what? We're so I get so excited. This is the best thing about podcasting.
Yeah, you haven't even done
I haven't even introduced our guest.
We're talking to. We're just talking, and you haven't even told people who we're talking to.
Okay, guys. Oh, listen, I'm going to go back. Our special guest today is Rosalind Chao. You all know her as Dr. Kim, but Rosalind has 140 professional acting credits that began in 1970, from MASH, Star Trek, The Joy Luck Club, What Dreams May Come, 2 of my favorites, to the recent Mulan, Sweet Tooth, and 3 Body Problem. Rosalind has continued to entertain us with her fearless portrayals of too many to mention memorable characters, showcasing her versatility and lasting impact in the entertainment industry. An Orange County native like ourselves, welcome, Rosalind.
I remember you and I talked about that a little bit.
It was so fun to see that you were literally born in Anaheim, lived it, and
no, all my stuff on the internet, to be honest.
Good.
For anybody listening, it's all not almost. I'd say 80% of it is not real, but
give us the real deal then. Who knows?
Okay, so the real
Who came up with that?
I was born out here in LA, but
my
parents then opened a restaurant in Orange County, and that's how I started as a child actor. Yeah. So I got a head start. But it was like some sort of a drug. I kept trying to avoid it. My parents kept trying to, say it was a hobby. And so I didn't really, I still did it, but, I was doing other things as well, studying other things in school and stuff. But yeah, I was acting since I was a kid.
I was, when I said to CG, I was like, she's got like 50 years or more than 50 years of credits. And, it's like, I just feel like that was actually my first question was that you come from a performing family because your parents were in the Peking
opera. Yeah, opera. They did. See, that's the other thing. No, they did it as a hobby. So they thought my acting was a hobby too.
Right.
And that's how I started, was in their Peking opera shows, because in Peking opera, little girls played boys and boys played girls. So I played little boys who did bad things when I was little. And, somebody saw me running through my parents' restaurant and put me in stuff. So that's kind of how I started. So yeah, not all my credits are good though for that amount of time. They're getting better.
No, we were looking at them, and so I've seen Three Body Problem. I actually watched it 2 months ago when I had COVID. It was my binge show. I just watched it all in a day or two, but I had never seen The Joy Luck Club or What Dreams May Come, and I watched both over this weekend. And
two of my favorites.
Know. I think your credits are quite fascinating. I don't know what you're saying, that they're not great.
They're not career decisions. They were childcare decisions in some cases. As you know, Melinda, it's really, the juggling was really, challenging for me. And my husband's an actor too. So we kind of took turns a lot. And the OC slotted in. Honestly, I said no to the OC at first.
Oh, yeah?
Because the timing, I wasn't sure about the timing, and it ended up working out so well. They filmed at,
Manhattan, Raleigh Studios in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, and so close by. And I'd stop at Trader Joe's on my way home and get all our groceries. And yeah, it was easy and fun.
I think that was when people talk about, so CG was 3 when it started. And obviously our daughters are the same year of the year.
Yes.
And I think that was the OC, even for me as a series regular. Rachel and I became series regulars at the end of the first, or for the back 9 or whatever they call that, on the first season. And it was like the perfect job to go to work for a few days a week, and then, which is kind of the respite from being a mother and trying to juggle the toddler and getting to school. But once, when CG was a little bit older, then I did a show in Toronto, and that broke my heart, trying to fly back and forth, and so
seeing that plane ticket back in the day, you would see the plane ticket on your dining room table or whatever, and your heart would sink.
Yeah.
Oh God, now I've got to leave my baby. Yeah. It was tough. So I tried not to do locations, but What Dreams May Come was San Francisco. I hadn't had my daughter yet, and my son was, I think, 5 years old, and so that was kind of an easier thing. But it was 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's rare to actually get to shoot in San Francisco. I mean, I wanted to specific CG. I said we were together over the weekend. She's actually in Orange County right now. She was born in Laguna.
Yeah. I'm in the OC right now.
Where in the OC?
I'm in Dana Point right now, right south of Laguna. Yep.
But I should
right at the top of the hill. I mean, it's too foggy to see the ocean right now, but yeah.
But
My
side
daughter
note,
went down there to surf at San Onofre, I think.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
Yeah, I'm right by
Strands Beach.
Strands Beach.
Yes.
I'm right by Strands, yeah.
That's where I grew up. She's in my mom's
Oh,
house. Yeah.
see, you grew up in the cooler part of Orange.
Yeah. I'm living in the house my mom grew up in right now.
Oh,
with my grandmother. Yeah.
Oh,
actually, only for another week, but yeah.
Heavenly. That's heavenly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So Melinda, you can hovercraft over her without being the bad guy. Your mom can do it.
Well,
Patty, my grandma could try. She tries.
she's a woman. She's on her own. She's moving back to Chicago in a week, driving back. So she's
exciting. Are you an actor as well?
It was more of a hobby for me. I completed the full improv program at Second City like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Which was really, really fun. But I do think, I know you said hobby, but I think it really is more of a hobby for me instead of profession. It's really fun, but
see it.
My mom's like, if you want to do it, you should do it. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of fun doing it, but
it's a hard,
it's hard.
It's a hard decision, and I don't know how it is now. I guess anybody could tell you, oh, this is a bad time to get in, or your type, or this or that. But in the end, if you love it, I really think, you just have to do what you love. That's what it comes down to. You don't want to have regrets later on. That's, huge.
Saying things like that to a 24, almost 25-year-old, I'm like, oh no, wait, what do I do? I need to go take more classes when I move back.
Well, Chicago's a great place to do comedy if that's what you want to do.
I haven't broken into the classes of really dramatic acting yet. I did a little bit at Second City, but it really is a lot more improv comedy based. But I would love to take classes like at Steppenwolf Theater and things like that. Yeah. I think that's on the horizon when I move back. Yeah.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting. And I don't even differentiate between, acting is acting. And I feel like comedy, I just did my friend's comedy show this week, and I feel like it's still acting.
Yeah.
You're still in a truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And improv is really hard. It was so hard. I had fun doing it, but I don't know. I wasn't a total natural at improv. So I think I'm more of a scripted, scenes kind of person. But yeah, improv is really hard.
I think it's a muscle you have to develop.
It is. Yeah.
I did a movie that was, what was it called? I don't even know if it's come out yet, but it's, not an artist, and they were all improv people, and it was, I was very nervous about it, but it turns out it's just acting. It's absolutely just acting, and you just have to like clear your brain. I think acting in general, you just have to clear your brain, except when you're on the OC and you have Dr. Kim always had pages of lines. I mean,
can I ask you a question? I think once I had a child and I was traveling and stuff, I used to be so good at memorizing dialogue, and all of a sudden that short-term memory skill, I had to relearn how to do it when things got more stressful in life. Did you find that?
Series, it must have been so good for your memorization. It's a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
When I do it more, I'm really fast. And when I haven't done it for a while, it's like, oh.
This episode is brought to you by Navage.
Congestion used to totally ruin my day. I would have headaches, trouble focusing, I couldn't sleep. And then I started using Navage.
Same. I mean, the difference is incredible. Apparently, I snore a lot when I get stuffed up, and now it is so much better using the Navage.
Exactly. And you do snore. Navage is all about making every breath feel effortless. It uses a smooth saline flow and gentle suction to clear out your nasal passages. And since it's drug-free and uses 99.9% pure saline salt pods, There are no medicinal side effects you have to worry about.
Yep. And that is definitely something that I love about it too. Plus, you know what? It is super fast, just 30 seconds, and I am breathing so much easier.
I completely agree. It's become a part of my morning routine, just like washing my face, brushing my teeth. I don't have any pressure headaches, and I sleep so much better.
And you know what? Adam is my husband. He is so thrilled that the snoring is less too. I honestly didn't think something like this would make such a big difference because I've used saline in the past, but this is a game changer. But you know what? I think it's time for him to get his own Navage. He needs it too.
I think that'd be a great gift because you both snore a little bit. It's the perfect solution when you want fast, natural relief. And I can't live without it now.
Start breathing easier today. Order the Navage Starter Pack. It comes with everything you need to get started. Trust us, you'll love this. Plus, our listeners can get a free cleaning kit as a gift, but only when you order through our exclusive URL, navage.com/beyond, and use our promo code BEYOND. Again, to order your Navage and free cleaning kit and for full product details, go to navage.com/beyond. That's promo code BEYOND at navage.com/beyond. You've had so many, I mean, it's, I actually thought when I was doing this, I always thought of Joy Luck Club and What Dreams May Come, but you also have that face where as I was going through and I went, oh, right. You did the finale of MASH. And that was a huge epic. That's the most watched television show in history to this day. And that was a big deal in my family.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah. MASH and was the smartest show, and everybody I just remember it, having such critical acclaim, and it was such a big deal. And I remember Hawkeye and the helicopter. I have these images, and then I feel like you've been in so many things that you're so recognizable. Do you find that you're recognizable all around the planet?
Well, people always think they know me. They
Yes.
don't really.
Right.
Except for Star Trek people, definitely they know every episode I was on, blah, blah, blah. But MASH, the last episode of MASH was really, that's kind of why all my internet stuff is messed up because, I was in school at the time. They hired me, then they unhired me when they got my paperwork because Jamie Farr, it was a grown-ass man and I was a teenager. So there were a lot of reasons why they had to adapt to that. And so then they rehired me when I agreed to be a certain age. And so all the press that came out and a lot of the information that came out, that was back in the day that press was, more created. It's more creative than
left over from the studio system.
They had the studio system. They had one press guy. I still remember his name was Chuck, and he was so nice.
Yeah.
And, I just did whatever I was told. If I was on a talk show, I followed, the press storyline.
So they shifted your age is what you're saying too.
They shifted a lot of stuff, but that definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it worked in my favor. My lawyer just recently asked, do you want that? We got to get on that because it has gone back to the normal and then it came back to so my lawyer said, do you want to change that? And I was like, you know what? It's been so good for me. I mean, I think I might not have gotten Three Body Problem I'm not sure if they Googled me first because my bosses on Three Body Problem tease me all the time because they say, you bamboozled us. But I always say, it's your fault. You should not Google actors. You should,
talk to the actors.
Yeah.
Because are you saying that the requirement for the character, which I started the first episode and it felt violent and I had to pause. I was having one of those days where I was like, I can't do the violence yet. But were you saying that the character was required to be a certain age and you were too young in real life?
It's supposed to be 80, I think originally. Then they said, well, I remember David said, at one point when I had all the old lady makeup, he's like, I guess it's okay because you're only like, a few years off. And I was like,
you're like, I'm a little bit more than a few years off.
And then he went back and he came to the set and he was like, you you hoodwinked us, or used some word like that. And I was like, I did not. You projected what you needed to project to hire me. He claims that when I had a meeting with them, I think what happened is I did a play in London where I aged from 30 to maybe 70, to older. And uh, I think, and that was in London. The casting director, Nina Gold, is British. So I think that's how they ended up seeing me. And so when I met them, I had just broken my arm doing something very stupid. And so I was a little delicate. It was my first time out without my cast. So I moved a little bit slow. Maybe, I don't know, but he says that when I walked into the meeting, I was very, like, I guess he claims, but I think that was because that was what he wanted to see.
Right. He said you like maybe you looked a little frail or like, yeah, but
Oh,
yeah,
I might have still been holding my arm. I don't know.
Method acting. There you go.
Yeah, method acting.
Yeah, so on the show, they gray me up and they made me, Melinda, this is every actor's nightmare now that I look back on it. Every morning,
They creped up your smile lines.
crinkle and glue.
Yes.
Great. So they glue my face together like that for, oh God, I guess, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Because they had to condense my schedule because of sweet tooth.
Right.
And it changes. Don't do it.
You're saying you never recovered?
Honestly, my mom never had this many lines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to say that, because you've been working from such a, gosh, so I think we're closer now that you're telling me we're closer in age than I thought based on that.
Yeah. I think we talked about, I think during the OC, did you have your birthday or did I have my birthday?
My birthday is April 24th.
Oh,
I was born in
we
69.
talked about it. Yeah, I think we are around.
Yeah. And but I was like, what of all the decades? Because I can see, I do actually do quite a bit of research, and I was like, okay,
I can tell.
I can see that you're acting traditional way where you're getting parts in Lucille Ball's third television show, and then you start working into what was the movie with Chris Cooper, 1,000 Pieces of Gold?
1,000 Pieces of Gold.
I'd like to watch that. That looked fabulous. And then Joy Luck Club was so impactful and like a great American movie, I think.
I think it meant a lot to a lot of people at the time. I had my son at the time, and I didn't have any friends who had kids. So I was very nervous about it. And at first I told Wayne I couldn't do it. And finally, after saying no 3 times, his wife called me and his wife talked me into it. I was very nervous with a new baby and, I didn't have parents to like pitch in at the time. And I had no friends with kids. Because everybody is still out partying at that age. I'll never forget when my son was born, one friend took my kid out and like made him dance on the table like he was like a pet or something.
You're like, no.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That.
But it was like when I said to CG, we're interviewing Rosalind, we have to watch this movie, and she wasn't sure what to expect, and mother daughter, she looked over.
Yeah,
and
so her and I were watching it together, and I was already really sad that I'm moving in a week, and I think I said to her, I was like, they don't make movies like this anymore. That movie was epic, it was incredible, like so many of the messages and stories in it, I think, is so important for young women. I think especially your storyline was kind of like a slap in the face to me. Like what your mom said to you, like in a good way. Like it's really important. And
to know your worth.
At the end of it, know your worth. At the end of it, I was like kind of at a loss for words. I think it's a phenomenal film for so many reasons.
Apparently it's, also that storyline is shown to people when they're going through a marriage split up or break up. It's really about knowing who you are and believing in yourself. You know.
And it's fascinating because you're Andrew McCarthy's character, your husband, his character he's actually searching for, where's the woman that I want to be inspired by that makes me respect and didn't quite know how to put words on it. And I think marriage is a journey, and when we lose ourselves in somebody else, or we're not standing up for each other, or, I mean, he could have been the opposite. He could have been just a douchebag, which, right. Where we say, we will be fine. We will be survivors. We can move on no matter what. But it was, I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I thought, oh yeah, he comes back because he found the woman.
I'd forgotten that too.
Right?
Honestly, I never watched the movie in full because I don't watch myself in anything.
Oh, you don't?
No, even now I don't I'm not looking at myself, but I don't, just because I enjoy making, I'm sure you feel this way too. I enjoy working. I enjoy making the product so much.
The connection with the people that we're working with is social.
Yeah. So I don't want to ruin it with my self-hatred.
Well, we had to watch the show for the podcast. And vanity is ingrained in us, and as we're getting older, and everything's sliding down like silly putty.
You have you've really not changed. I was expecting a bigger change. You've not changed.
Well, we always do, but I think there's something now. If I have a negative thought about getting older, at least I've trained myself to say, that's an intrusive thought, and it's not helpful.
That's so smart.
And it's taken some time. And I think, when I was leading up to this question about having been in this industry for so many decades, and having to pivot with the realities of life, being a mother, a wife, and saying, I'm going to not take a serious regular job, or I'm going to take recurring because that fits my lifestyle, and not feeling like I'm going to, but yet you've continued to work. Are you finding like you're in the best decade right now, or did you have a favorite decade before? Because it seems like you're doing some really great stuff right now.
I like it now because, my biggest complaint, my husband was just reminding me of this, because I used to always say, I just want to do one job where I don't have to kiss anybody, or I don't have to, and one job where they don't come at me and say, oh, there's a bathing suit scene, or I don't see yellow pages, and she removes her top and jumps into the pool. I just did not want to see that. I think I was offered at one point, I think one of my first agents, I think I left because he was like, he would not take no for an answer when they offered me one of those bathing suit TV shows. I can't remember which one of the lifeguardy TV shows. And I so wanted to be a character actor, from the time I started. So I couldn't quite understand why kissing was always involved,
Right. No, we have a theme on this. My daughter, CG, has actually said that she didn't watch the OC till she was 18. And so as we talk about different things
she's made out with so many young men on that show that I'm like,
not just that show, but it's and
other shows.
I mean, Melinda, it's kind of gross sometimes, isn't it? I mean, like sometimes it's like, Melinda, this is so-and-so. So-and-so, this is so-and-so. Next thing, his tongue's down your throat.
Well,
you said that about, there was one, we just watched an episode a while back where Julie has a porno. And so she said the other people she's made out with, at least she knew them before. But it was just like a guy on a bed and you make out.
We had to shoot the actual scenes of the pizza guy showing up. And she goes, hi, come on in. And I was like, and I just remember out of everything on the show feeling really uncomfortable about it. And even though it ended up being a great storyline and the fans loved it, but it felt odd doing it in the moment. And
it's there's no way it doesn't. I do remember one time, Sean Penn's dad used to direct a lot of TV, and there a bikini scene showed up. We were filming in Hawaii, and and I think he called me up the night before and said, "Roz, are you still uncomfortable?" And I was like, "I hate this." And so he made the entire crew be in their bathing suits and the women be in their bikinis. Everybody had to come in the water with me,
That's funny.
including him with his little belly. He's
Yeah.
so sweet.
That's funny. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I did a nude scene in a film in the early 90s, and I came home saying, I think I want to quit acting if this is what it's about. And because it was all of a sudden you're going to show your breasts, and all the Teamsters are all of a sudden on set. And I was like, no, close set. And then you'd get these remarks from guys saying, I don't know what the big deal is. I'm going to see it anyway on TV. And I was like, so I'm old enough. We're old enough to know how the industry was then. And now there's been some pretty remarkable changes, but it's not just great changes. And that's what I thought about when we talk, we're talking beyond the OC. That's as the title suggests, I love to talk to people that were part of the show and get to know them and their journeys. And I think it's a great topic to discuss, like how things have changed in the Asian American culture and films themselves, because you've probably experienced that. And I know that you're an advocate. I saw an interview, you were talking about how things have changed for the better, but things have gone a little too strict.
Yeah.
And you were talking,
in my mind, I mean, I got a lot of pushback from that. In fact, I actually asked them to take that off of TikTok because I was getting some really harsh pushback. Okay. But all that being said, yes, it's gotten much better for, especially if your daughter's going in the industry. I actually now feel like we're much better taken care of. I mean, Melinda, you probably experienced this. How many times did you go on meetings where, like, I went on meetings where casting directors had to come in and like rescue me,
from producers who, I mean, I was lucky that I didn't get too many things that were inappropriate.
You admit a strength. Because I remember thinking that when we did ADR, that was the first time we really had a chance to
did we?
Engage. Yeah, and I remember thinking, you admit something about you is like I don't think people would mess with you. You had so much, I felt like you have so much confidence. That's how you come across.
Well, thank you.
Well, I'll say she did admit that as a mother. I was scared to mess with her as a mother.
That's good. That's good. I'm telling you, that's so valuable. That's how you turned out so great.
Well, she turned out great, but I've had my moments that I've had to say sorry for, like we all do, because we're imperfect, but we're all just doing it for the first time,
Oh my gosh! I was telling I did Better Things. And
I love that. Pamela Adlon, her daughter was in CG's preschool. So yeah.
Oh yeah, me and Odessa went to preschool together.
Yeah.
In LA?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So she is such a great role model, because before I was even on it,
I love that show.
I watched the show, and she made a lot of the same, it looked to me like she had made some of the same boo-boos that I had, and then they were resolved in the episode. And I learned so much about parenting through watching that show.
Right. And how to CG, you should watch the show because it's love it, CG, because it's a takeoff on her life with the three girls. And we were actually, I mean, I think she's pretty open, but she was still married when we were in preschool, and she's such a character. So I mean, it really is it's autobiographical in so many ways. Yeah.
She was a single mom raising three girls, and I mean, their relationship is phenomenal. Yeah. And I learned, there were times I said, oh God, this happened. She'd look at you straight and she'd say, well, and then say something from her own
Give you
background.
some life advice after.
Yeah, she's really wise.
Yeah. Well, the writing on that, it's so uncomfortable yet so juicy and so real, and and especially since we lived in the Valley. We lived in Sherman Oaks for many years, and CG went to Oakwood and Notre Dame, and
you did?
Yeah,
oh,
I
good
did.
Catholic schools.
Yes.
But I think what's interesting is, I just recently, because I get so antsy about acting, and I'm back in an acting class, and I was like, man, I learned so much more about myself and life, sometimes more than going to therapy, being an actor. And when we get to be part of shows that are actually exploring characters deeply like that.
Absolutely. Empathy. We learn empathy. I mean, when you mention Sweet Tooth, I mean, how can you empathize with that person, But and same with Three Body, but you learn to find the nuggets that make people who they are. And you learn to be a little more forgiving of yourself and of other people, I think, through acting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, one would hope. Maybe it doesn't apply to everyone, but
Well, and I think that kind of brings me to something that I wanted to touch on, because I just remember how What Dreams May Come. If anybody if you haven't watched it, you need to see this film. It's just thematically amazing. It's so profound, and I won't say be prepared for the sadness of it, but the beauty as well. And I'm just so curious. And your performance felt so effortless. And I mean, what was it like when you first read that script? Did you know the character? Was it just all in the writing?
Yeah, it felt very, and at first I can't remember what, I think they wanted, I mean, this isn't self-deprecating. I remember getting a call from the casting director saying that he wanted somebody prettier, and could I come in and help coach actresses to audition for the part? And after I'd already done my audition, and I was like, I don't think so. So they ended up hiring me.
No.
But I'm still friends in that's a New Zealand director, and if you go on my Instagram, you'll see there's a picture of him, and me giving him a hard time because I've never let him forget that. He's an old guy now. I mean, oops, I shouldn't say that, but he's an older man now, and he's, he can take a joke. I tease him all the time, but
Right.
yeah, that script was written by Ron Bass, who wrote Joy Luck Club with Amy Tan, and it really, I think it touched on something that it was almost like, have you ever seen Wings of Desire? It was like another version of that, like the afterlife, and yeah, just thinking about it now, I actually don't think I got the depth of it until, as I get older, I understand more and more and more.
Right.
Well, yeah, I will say I watched it last night, and it's just beautiful. But I watched it with my grandmother, and I was like, it's a very sad movie. I felt, the importance of it, but my grandmother afterwards goes, that was really upsetting at times.
Yeah.
And it's because she's experienced loss much more than I have, and like my grandfather passed away and everything, and she's like, that was really upsetting at times. Like,
if she had seen the end, there was an original ending.
Oh.
When studios get involved, things change, but the original ending, she would have felt better about. They're both, it sounds so hokey when I say it, but they're both reincarnated into, you see a baby being slapped on one end of the country, and a baby on one end of the world, and a baby being slapped in the other end of the world. And I think there's a voiceover of Max von Sydow, talking about how what happened. Oh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
What happens later on. And it was quite beautiful, but I think it may have been too esoteric for the studio. Also, the music originally was by Ennio Morricone. And I remember when we did they changed it because it was even sadder. And when we did the ADR for it, I had such a hard time. I had to ADR that whole speech in the boat because of all the special effects. and I had such a hard time getting through it because of the music. And I remember the director, I remember Vincent saying, Roz, you don't have to really cry in every scene. I'm like, I'm trying not to. Because it was so,
Yeah.
It's really emotional.
it was even more so. So I think they pulled back a little bit, believe it or not.
Wow. And working with Robin Williams was
That's exactly what I was going to ask. What was that experience like working with him?
I got a window into who he was away from people and who he was with people, and both are just his generosity towards people who want to see Robin Williams was exceeded the normal. I mean, the average bear, and they would push us out in a boat, and that special effects took a long time. So weeks. We were being pushed out into a boat, and then just he and I just in the boat for hours and hours, or climbing those stairs, and they couldn't bring us back down because it's a lot. So we would just sit down at the top of the stairs while they're doing all the stuff down below. So I got a lot of alone time with them, and the thing I remember most, and I thought I should probably let her know at some point, is that he loves his family so much. He loved his kids just so much. What a great dad. I mean, the way he talked about his daughter.
yeah.
He's a marvelous human being. And he could make me laugh. Like I had a little bit of vertigo climbing those stairs sometimes, and he would just say something. He would do a whole riff as if I was like, a really lame beauty queen walking up the steps. And he'd like kick me out of the vertigo. He's just wonderfully generous.
Yeah.
I think about him every time I put on red lipstick because he said that he was an only child, and when his mom would put on red lipstick, he would know that's when she was going out.
Oh.
And I think about him often. It's funny, you get to know people really well when you work with them, don't you think?
Oh yeah, it's anything that would take a normal person months, maybe years, it's magnified when you're on set because you're spending 12, 13, even 15 hours a day, depending on the project, together. And that's what we do. We accelerate getting to know, and we're actors and we're connecting, and we're actually, and not just the crew as well. We all you become a family. And that's one of the reasons.
The nicest group of actors. I remember being in the van with Adam during the pilot.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about your memories of the OC.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that.
But before that, I want to ask about Three Body Problem and some of the actors you worked with on that, because my mom hasn't seen it, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you worked with, I guess maybe you didn't have any scenes directly with some of them, but John Bradley and Liam Cunningham.
I love him.
Some of my favorite actors, both of them phenomenal in Game of Thrones.
And when I saw Game of Thrones, but I'm
Rosalind. No.
I know.
Well, the creators.
You need to watch it.
I know. And I thought I should watch it beforehand, but I thought I have such a great relationship with my bosses where I can really give them a hard time if I want to. And I was afraid, tease them. I tease them a lot. And I was afraid that if I saw Game of Thrones, I might be intimidated. So I didn't want to.
Both of them in that Game of Thrones, that series, both of them are phenomenal characters. And I guess when I saw you in that show, and I was like, oh my God, Rosalind got to work with them.
Yeah.
I got a little giddy because Game of Thrones has become one of my favorite shows in the last year.
Really?
Because I didn't watch it until last year. I was way behind.
Too.
Yeah. I was way behind.
So if I watch, and that's unusual for someone your age. So now I don't feel so behind.
Yeah, I only watched it last year, and one of my best friends watched it with me because she had already seen it. And we watched it together, and it's epic. It's one of those things that you can't recreate. It's not like anything you've ever seen, and it's just extremely epic and beautiful. And
one of our directors, their director Jeremy Podeswa directed, I don't want to ruin it, for Melinda, but my last scene, Jeremy directed that whole episode.
Yeah.
So, and he had directed just phenomenal. You know what? Those guys get the most phenomenal people to work with them. So you feel like, yeah, crinkle my skin, do whatever. They're just
Like,
so,
whatever.
yeah, everybody's so good at their job. It was really, what a pleasure. Yeah, it was really an exciting, and they're very fearless as producers. They like even the way they hired me. It was, I didn't read. It was just everything was very trusting their gut. I think when I came back from the meeting, I think even before I drove home, I got the info.
I love
I
it.
was to fly to London for the makeup tests, before I go to New Zealand, and they go for it in a way in every aspect of their lives. I just had to do like a little press thing with just them. And it was, and so traveled a little bit with them. And I saw that they're just like that. They just like, okay, you want to do that? Yes, let's do it. Like there's no, like I'm always like, oh,
Hesitation.
what time would it be at? And where would
Yeah.
it, and they kind of, I feel like I transformed after working with them.
Wow. See, now I just I think like what you said is there's something, we were
Oh
taught.
my God, I thought you were crying for a second.
No, no,
You were
no.
like,
No.
I have dry eye. I have dry eye. But no, I just think that we've been taught for some reason you're never going to work past the age of 40. And I think that for people that, I have a true passion. I'm a one-trick pony. I'm an actor. I'm not out there writing, directing, or anything. It's just, I'm looking forward. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to the roles as I get older. Like the idea, like I keep getting cast in things like I've been playing 40 for 20 years. You know what I mean?
You're too pretty, honestly. You
Well,
want me to give you some advice?
I want to go gray.
Well, it's going to get better. It's going to get better as how do I put it? As
I lose the look.
Yeah,
I told her she should let the gray hair grow out and go like go full silver.
I don't
I
dye
think
my
it's
hair, but
cool.
that being said, my hair was jet black
Yeah.
before I started Three Body Problem. Honestly,
Yeah.
when I went back to Sweet Tooth, they're like, "What happened?"
That show was also unlike anything I've ever seen. It was so.
What, Three Body Problem?
Yeah, I can't even put a word on what it was. It was like, yes, it was aliens, but it was like in a completely different way. And I thought your character was, like you said, like in Sweet Tooth and Three Body Problem, like you don't really have remorse for them. But I did find myself having remorse for your character, especially the younger version of your character.
And later too, like her regrets with her daughter, and people make mistakes. They make huge mistakes thinking about a picture that is maybe bigger than they deserve to be seeing. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
People make decisions out of trauma, and that character I could really I could understand, because a lot of people suffered, have suffered in wartime, and have suffered extreme trauma, and it affects your decision making later on. And then you look back and say, why didn't I have clarity then, and try and fix it? And I feel like that's what I feel like. Yeah, she really does have good intentions.
Yeah.
And which you will find out.
I know, right?
Yeah, Mom, go watch it.
I will.
She did go through a lot of trauma, and I mean that influenced her decisions that she made when she was older with, the people she was communicating with, or I don't know if I can say people, but those she was communicating with.
She tries to correct it. And in season 2, you may or may not see her efforts come to fruition.
Oh, so are you okay? So season 2 is coming up.
Yeah, there is a season.
Oh, that's exciting.
And 3. There's going to be, but it's
Okay.
way in the future. They haven't. I don't think they're even going to start shooting till next summer.
Okay. That's lovely. That's exciting. But you get
so once you get past the violence at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's like the only really violent part.
I
like,
had to do
fine.
in This
Just
Is
get
Us.
past
I
it.
had to get past the actual zombies. I had to get used to them. I'm kind of squeamish, weirdly.
It's it'll get they're zombie. I don't think they're. I think.
Wait, what, Mom?
In the This Is Us.
I was like, there's no zombies in this.
This Is Us. You know, the one with Pedro Pascal and.
Yes, that I understand. Last of Us.
The Last
of
Us.
Us. The Last of Us. That was.
And it's going to get better once you still look so marvelous that
Let the gray grow out.
Once your face falls, it'll get better.
I know. Well, okay, but I know that you're on a time crunch, and I just before we take off,
5 minutes.
Okay, then tell us about your memories of the OC and because Dr. Kim actually, my favorite thing is she helped, in the episode that we were talking about, and we'll talk about it after you have to take off. That the dean of discipline comes in and Dr. Kim can't do anything about it. And then later on you help get Marissa back into school. And some of your memories from the set. And
okay, so here's what I remember. And that's, first of all, first season, I remember the scripts were really fun and funny. And I also remember, I know this is a minor detail, but I remember the costumes, the attention to detail, and how cool were they? Hair, makeup. The makeup artist is the same person who did me in Better Things and did Pamela in Better Things.
Joni?
Joni
Powell? Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Joni. Love it.
And then I remember riding the van to set the first day when we were shooting at Mount St. Mary's.
Mount St. Mary's in Brentwood.
And Adam and I were talking about his love life and blah, blah, blah. And then when we were on the set, and Rachel was there, I remember thinking, they have a really good flirtation going.
You called it.
You could see it immediately.
Right from the beginning, the inception of it.
Right? They were so cute. And then later on, I think I left and I came back and they'd moved in together and they had a dog and blah, blah, blah. But yes, initially, to see them from the beginning, and just growing as actors and as people. And I saw Ben at the grocery store. And it was so funny because initially, he's so, he was so open and very pure and like a kid, and then when I saw him at the grocery store, I remember saying Ben, and I think the OC had already started showing, and you could tell his whole body like 10-step, and I was like, it's Rosalind, and he was like, oh,
he's like, oh gosh.
Nobody
because
knew.
At that time they were getting so much fame, and someone recognizing him at that time was probably
It was within a month of premiering. It went nuts, and to their lives especially changed so much.
What a good person he is, and they all were. I mean, you all were. I really enjoyed you all, and Peter as well. I mean, I just thought it was a really lovely cast. I don't know anything other than that,
I think what we've discovered. There was a book that came out for the 20th anniversary, and everyone, you're absolutely correct. Everyone is a lovely, lovely person. It's been known now that by the third and fourth season, the kids were being inundated with these like movies and everything, and it felt constrictive to them to have to. Totally understandable. Whereas I am a new mother, and I'm like, this is the perfect job. I never want it to end, right? And it's just
Trader Joe's on your way to the on their way to the freeway.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I will say your role as Dr. Kim, as I'm watching it with all this chaos that's going on in all these kids' lives, I'm like, this is the role model they need. Like, you're the one who brings up like Ryan going to college, and he's like, what? And you're like, you should look into this, and you get him into school. You get Marissa back into school, and like,
I don't
all,
remember all that.
all these things. It's just like, this is the role model they need. Get rid of Julie. Get rid of these parents who won't put their children in therapy. Dr. Kim is here to help.
Oh, that's so cute. I just remember the scripts being really evolved. Wasn't there? I remember actually being on the exercise bicycle and reading one of them, and I think it was ahead of its time. I really do. There was some stuff that was so funny, but satirical, funny, right? About the OC.
Yeah.
And not too far from the truth.
This episode when you're sitting at your desk and you're telling Julie and Sandy, like, oh, there's a new dean of discipline, and he walks in behind you, your face, you're just like,
I can't believe I'm dealing with this guy.
You're like, he's standing behind you.
It was Eric Mabius.
The dean is standing behind you.
Was he like really handsome? Who was
No, because you're not like agreeing with, you can tell that Dr. Kim didn't agree with like the bringing on of the dean of discipline. And you're like still trying to keep your professional face, but it's just the slightest facial expression you make where you're like, yeah, like I know this guy is not great, and I thought it was great.
Basically, Marissa and Ryan have been involved in the shooting where Marissa shot Trey, Ryan's brother, because he was beating. So this whole thing was going on where we can't make Dr. Kim the villain, and the parents want Marissa and Ryan kicked out of school, so they bring in this dean of discipline to be a real villain, and I'm really glad they didn't do that to your character, to kick the characters out. But and
then I guess I couldn't do it at the end. I can't remember what was a conflict, but I remember
because Tia Carrere came in to be the new dean, and I thought, and I was like, that's right. Rosalind, I'd heard, I think that you were it was scheduling conflict or something, probably.
Was it? It might have been. It wasn't What Dreams May Come.
It was 2007.
2007.
Sorry, we would have been shooting 2006 into just the beginning of 2007.
Oh, I can't remember, but I do remember thinking, "Oh shoot, I can't."
Yeah. Well,
I loved working on that, and I love seeing the growth. It was like it's as if you have this plant and somebody else has been watering it, and you see it. You see its growth initially every day, and then you leave for a little bit and you come back and you're amazed at how gorgeous it's grown. And I was just amazed at everybody's growth as people as well. I feel like I got to watch them grow up.
Well, and also that's so sweet to hear, because when somebody who's literally truly a veteran of what you do, then I'm sure you tend to and also actors just mean so observational of human behavior. That's that's our professional job, to constantly watch. And then when you go away, you see the changes, and it must be kind of
to watch it up close.
Yeah.
But both veterans. I mean, I remember actually at ADR, one of the last ADRs I did, you were there. I remember we started talking about, and you started filling me in on everything that was going on. It was just like, it was really, it was really warm too, because I'd done quite a few recurrings, and not every show's like that. Because back then, I would never sign on for much to the sadness of my checkbook, but I would never sign on as a regular on things. So I did do a lot of different recurrings, and that one was really I feel like everybody held it together longer on that show.
Right, because it's an inevitable thing where the familiarity can breed some contempt. But you're it's very true, because I remember going on other sets that warm is a really great description, because I remember going on other sets, and you're right, as a guest star, it's not always warm and embracing, and that's fine. I'm a guest at the party. And there's like super efficiency, and there might be some intensity going on, and some sets are warmer than others, and we just don't know what's going on from the top and as it trickles down and such. But I like that you have lovely memories about it, and we were so lucky to have you, for sure.
It's a pleasure. I'm so glad I got to do this. I'm so sorry I have to leave.
No, I know.
Thank
but
you
if you
so
have
much for coming on.
I just want to say, we always ask if you could talk to your younger self, just as a quick little, like, what would you tell your younger self, and or what life lesson have you learned that you like to share with people?
I think it's a long road. Enjoy the ride. Don't, you know, try to have faith and that things, if you're doing what you love, things will work out. I think, and the other thing, look at me pointing my finger, life first. I really believe that. I really believe that as an artist, you have to live in order to fill up your art. You can't just be in a room saying, oh, I've just got to, prep for this audition or that audition. Why aren't my agents? If they aren't, you just have to get a waitressing job or a whatever job, but you have to live a life in order to fill your work, be it music, art, acting.
Right.
So that's what I would have told myself, that you're right to, not you're right, but just keep living and don't worry that you're, because I really did do life first and pushed away career. And then sometimes I thought, oh God, am I so stupid? But everything comes back. If you love it, everything comes back.
Yes, I agree.
I love that.
I've done that. And then you worry, you're like, did I stay away too much? And it's like,
No,
nope, that was
don't
important.
worry, don't worry. You just have to age, honey. You have to get out there.
Now, Mom, stop putting like the tape on your face when you go to bed.
Go
Stop
running
doing the
to
wrinkle
make your
stuff.
face,
I ran this morning.
Stop dyeing your hair. Just like let it gray. Just like full send.
I would love to become a character actor for sure.
It's so much easier. No kissing.
Yay, sure. No kissing young men anymore.
Don't traumatize the child anymore. Okay.
All right. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rosalind.
Hang in there. You're doing the right thing. Comedy and drama. It's all there in Chicago. Oh my God.
Yes, I'm really excited to go back. I've been gone for a year and it's calling me. It's pulling me back.
Yeah, trust your instinct. That's fantastic. Yeah. Your mom's gonna miss you though. You guys have such a great relationship.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, Rosalind.
Hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.
So everyone, we pivoted a little bit in our recording style today, and we were lucky enough to get Rosalind, our other platform that records our podcast, didn't work out. So we had to switch over to a different platform. And CG, let's just jump right into this episode a little bit.
Jimmy's a loser.
Hey, this episode is called it's number 36 on the countdown, The Shape of Things to Come. It was directed by Tony Warmby. It was written by Josh and JJ Philbin. And oh my God, the funniest thing is I wrote where did I put I forgot to put the synopsis in my
okay, I'll do the synopsis like from the top of my head.
No.
Okay.
I got it.
No, I got it. So it's season 3, episode 2, The Shape of Things to Come. Marissa, it's the aftermath of Marissa and Trey and the shooting. And Marissa and Ryan have some stuff they need to talk about, but they're kind of avoiding it. And it's registration day to go back to school, but there's a big petition to get Ryan and Marissa kicked out of school because they're like, oh my God, a new poor girl, she shot someone. So then they bring in the dean of discipline to make the decision so they don't make Dr. Kim be the bad guy. And they decide to kick out Marissa and not Ryan. And so then, because Marissa's kicked out, Taylor Townsend tries to become the new social chair. And Summer is like, I don't think so. So she works at the carnival and takes down Taylor Townsend's butt. But then Jimmy Cooper comes back into town and Julie and Jimmy are back together and they're waiting for Caleb's money. Little do they know, Caleb doesn't have any money. And they're just frivolously spending money. Jimmy's a loser. Kirsten is getting out of rehab and goes to Lake Arrowhead, I think, or Big Bear. One of those.
No, it's Arrowhead.
Charlotte.
Creepy Charlotte.
And there's you can tell Charlotte she has twinkle in her eye. She's doing something. And then the kickoff carnival happens, and Ryan and Marissa show up, and Taylor Townsend, she's like, this won't do. So she calls the dean over to kick out Marissa. And Ryan ends up punching the dean. So now they're both kicked out of Harvard.
Yeah, that worked out really well, huh?
There's the synopsis.
There you go. Well, okay. I love that we can pivot.
I know what's happening.
Right. You guys know. Okay, so I got to say, we're this. I didn't enjoy this episode that much. Now, I do have a memory of enjoying shooting it because Tate comes back.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
and
just
Tate have fun together.
You can tell that we're having fun together.
Yeah.
But watching it, I was like, holy crap. Jimmy is the biggest. He's clearly got a gambling addiction. And we don't know what's been going on with Jimmy, but he had the boat. Now the bank owns it. He's borrowing money. Actually, he stole the guy's deposit that he owes money to. And now he's oh my gosh, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
By association, I'm like, Julie, you're being such a loser too. Like, why are
She's
you going
blinded?
back to Jimmy?
And now because Julie is so strong, but she really, when it comes to men, and she says it later on, she was like, men to me are like Kirsten Chardonnay to her, a couple drinks and I'm upside down on a chandelier or something like that. And you see it. That's a Julie line.
I know, it's funny.
Oh man, I do have to say, so we've got a few comments. Everybody either commented about how much they loved Autumn Reeser or just what a complete Dean Hess is an asshole. Sorry.
Why are you being PG here?
I don't know. I'm just being So I just there's a couple comments since we just talked to Rosalind and she had to take off. On my Instagram, Neil Nayar, Rosalind Chao was a great addition, an awesome TV career, and helped represent Asian diversity in major primetime shows, MASH, Different Strokes, and the OC. And somebody else said Rosalind was great on the Star Trek shows. I was pleasantly surprised and happy when she joined the OC. And it's true. Like our show was had a lack of diversity, but also that's kind of the way Newport is. Actually, I'm glad that she was there as a person of color, and we didn't really get to talk to her about that. But yeah, the OC was a pretty whitewashed kind of television show. But Newport Beach that's kind of representative of the way it is.
I went out in Newport Beach on 4th of July. I attest.
It's still the same.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely.
Exactly.
That's true. It can be true. But then most people had that. This is an LMAO, the Dean Hess storyline. I just find it hilarious that this newly appointed Dean of Discipline, who didn't know Marissa or Ryan at all, suddenly had more power than Dr. Kim, the teachers who knew them, and the entire student body. They make it sound like Dean Hess was the new principal / the one who had the most power. Lol. I mean, sure, I can believe some of the parents were actually concerned, but you can't tell me Dr. Kim didn't have more power or at least seniority over Dean Hess. And I was like, and I made the point of saying they had to bring in this bad guy to serve the storyline of Marissa getting kicked out, and it creates drama.
Right, because you can't have Dr. Kim, who's been like a beacon of hope for these kids, kind of be the one. But then when Ryan comes to her, she goes, I think it was a fair decision, which I guess she has to say because she's the principal. But somebody
made the point at preparing for this that she said, I have 1,000 signatures from parents, which to me would mean, because that would mean there's a lot of private kids in this private school. That
would mean there's at least 500.
Well, I guess Notre Dame had how many?
1,200.
Oh, okay. So that's plausible. For some reason, it seemed like a lot. Like every parent had signed it to get them kicked out. But, and of course, and I understand. So Ryan and Marissa are like, let's appeal to this Dean of Discipline. And Rebel Monkey 98 said, no offense, but why couldn't Marissa just at least say, quote, it was only done in self-defense, and explained how it all started to begin with? Man, that could have all been settled down. Yeah, she got so angry at the Dean.
She really did. She took the high horse, or not the high horse, the
high road? The high horse.
No, not the high road.
She didn't take the high road, actually.
No, that's not what I meant.
She doubled down.
Not what I meant.
She doubled.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what I was trying to say, but she doubled down. She got mad.
Defiant.
So,
she was defiant.
Yeah.
Because she'd already made...
Afterwards, Julie's like, yeah, so Marissa showed the Dean a side that she usually just saves for me, so I don't think she's getting back into Hartburg.
That was kind of a cute scene where she was like, just putting on makeup with a smile. So apparently, she's never getting back in. Because she did this, yeah. I mean, there's still some great moments, but yes, the Dean storyline just so pissed me off. I was angry. I was angry at the story.
I was also like, he's a dean of discipline. He's like, I've been a private school teacher, like whatever, disciplinarian, all this stuff. Why the hell did he think it was okay to grab Marissa and pull her out?
Yeah.
Oh my God. If a teacher laid their hand on a student, like Ryan was rightful in punching him.
Yeah.
But like, how dare he put a hand on her?
I know.
That's absurd.
But I can't imagine, first of all, being a teacher and of course you can't put hands on a kid because there were so many people who saw it. If Ryan had stepped away, just the fact, or if he'd not reacted, and of course we know that Ryan is a savior and a protector, and she'd been accosted, and and they'd already had this conversation just previous where Marissa's like, I don't need you to save. Like, the moment they're trying to process the Trey stuff, because Seth says you better process, and like we keep saying, they haven't had therapy to process all of this and start blaming each other. I thought that was an interesting scene between the two of them arguing, and then they made up. Of course he's going to jump in, but if he hadn't done anything, that Dean may have been on the outs, because you can't do that. You can't grab a kid.
Yeah, but Ryan would have never done that.
No, and it makes for good. I mean, we aren't apathetic here. We're angry about the whole situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. This wasn't one of my favorite episodes. I don't really have much else to say. Besides Jimmy's a loser.
Yeah.
And Ryan was right in punching the Dean.
Well, and I think we should also mention this was, this I can see now how after reading the book and going through it again and just knowing a lot more, armed with a lot more knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes, of pressure from the network to say, constantly they're saying, we need storylines that we can promote. And we need a desperate housewife type character. So it started with, and Patrick Rush told us, we need Sharon Stone. They offered the role to Sharon Stone. and like Nicolette Sheridan, I think that was the idea, a character like a Nicolette Sheridan who was on Desperate Housewives at the time. Sorry. And it just felt, to bring in this femme fatale to infiltrate the Kirsten rehab storyline felt like such a strange stretch, and I can see where it didn't feel like our show. And I love Jerry Ryan, and I think, the performance was fantastic, was fine and great and all that, but I can see where it felt like, it's just, they were forced into something that they weren't 100% behind creatively, but it also, I don't know. So that's kind of where season 3 was going with.
Right. And this is only the second episode of season 3, but yeah.
Right. So, but everyone agrees that the introduction of Taylor and Autumn Reeser was wonderful. And this was her first episode. So
it was?
Yes, this was her first episode. So they said when they saw her and she jumped off the screen, they got very, very excited about continuing and writing for her. So we'll end it on that. That was just our quick little number 36. We got to have Rosalind Chao do a Beyond the OC interview and share with us some of her lovely memories of the show. And what a lovely woman. And I'm excited to continue my career. It's inspirational to talk.
Time to let the hair gray. Time to let the hair gray.
Okay, everybody, you tell me if I
comment. Tell my mom to let her hair gray.
Go grays.
Go gray. Go silver. Go silver.
Okay. You know what? I'll start with a wig. I actually talked to Troy. Troy Exestos, our hairdresser from the show and everything. And I talked to him not too long ago, and we were talking about trying out a gray wig just to try it out. I'm only gray in my temples, by the way.
I know, but you'd be so cool with like a dark gray silver.
Salt and pepper kind of thing. We'll see.
Not white,
it's just
but
right
like
here.
Dark gray, dark silver.
Okay. You send me some photos. Okay.
We saw the lady at the ice cream shop.
Okay.
I said, look at her hair.
I did.
You should do that.
I did. Okay, everyone, please and thank you for listening. Please be sure to check my Instagram stories and posts at the Melinda Clark for what episodes we're covering next. Will it be one of your favorites? Do you want to join us on the pod? If so, please go to speakpipe.com/OCBitch and leave a voicemail or email us at beyondtheocpodcast@gmail.com to let us know why and what makes it your favorite. We might play your voicemail on the show or ask you to come on live to discuss. If you'd like to watch this podcast, check it out on the Beyond the OC YouTube channel. You can leave comments there too.
And if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can join us on Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free, and join us for our monthly live Zoom Q&As, and join us every other week. The next episode will be number 35 in the countdown. Drumroll, please. Season 1, Episode 12, The Secret, with our favorite director, Norman Buckley.
I love this episode. We're going back to season 1.
Episode.
It's exciting. You're going to watch it. Okay. Well, that being said,
Bye, bitches.
Bye, bitches. Bye.